Test, 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 test. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I did a test earlier, but it was tripping a little minute ago. So, Rich, can you hear me? How's my voice? Can you hear me? How do I sound? Oh, right on. Thanks, Avery. So we're gonna hop right into it, man. I have been wanting to do this for a while. As you know, I started my podcast about 4 months ago, and it's been received fairly well, and I wanted to continue to grow on it. So as the race season is here, I wanted to just go ahead and hop right into it, talking about racing and how to apply that. I'm Rasan Bahati. Welcome to the Feel the Fro podcast via YouTube. I'm live. This is not edited. I actually didn't even script it. I'm just live right now, and we're gonna talk. So I have a live chat going on YouTube. You can go ahead and ask questions when I open that up, and hopefully I can touch on some of the topics that you're speaking of, and let's do it. So race season's here. I know personally that even though I've been racing for, if I race, or I'll say when I race this season, it will be 21 years. So more than half my life, I've been racing a bike, and I've been fortunate enough to be around some of the best cyclists, I would say, in the world. Not necessarily the fastest or the strongest or the winniest, but I would say some of the most intellectual, hardworking cyclists I have ever been around. The list is long, and I can go on and what I've learned from different people, but we'll save that for another show. But in saying that, I've learned a lot. On how to approach a race, how to race a race, how to fight, how to stay in the fight. If you watch boxing or anything like that, they talk to fight, stay in the fight. You never know, you might catch them with one good shot, and then the fight's over after getting beat up the entire fight. So I'm a big believer in that, just staying in the fight at all times. So here in Southern California, the first race is this Sunday, actually very close to my house, in a place I used to train at with Major Motion back in the day before it even became a bike race course. It's known as CBR, California Bicycle, and it's just a staple in this area. It's been around for a very long time. It's had a few different owners that are promoters, I should say. And so I know locally a lot of people are excited to get racing this weekend. So let's just go through some things that I would play through my head. If I was going to race this Sunday, knowing that I know the course, now I'm playing the course through my head. I'm playing all different scenarios. If I were to race the Pro 1-2 race, I'll be up against Justin Williams. I'll be up against his brother Corey, even though they're on the same team now. I'll be up against guys like Tyson loves to ride really hard, which I like. And there's a list of other riders that I would watch. Probably anywhere from 5 to 8 riders that I would say have an opportunity to win. Outside of that, everyone else is I wouldn't consider them a threat. And that's not a disrespect to them, because everyone gets lucky. Even guys who are really fast get lucky. I would say that you need some luck. But I can't focus on 100 people. I can't even focus on 50. So I focus on the top 5 to 8 guys that I think have the best opportunity to win. And so that's something that you should consider, no matter what category you're racing. If you look at race results from last year, from whatever respective category you race, just look at the results. It was always the usual players, week in and week out. Every now and then you might have had someone who was top 30 all the time between that 20th and 30th spot, and then they slipped in there for a win or top 3 or something like that. But for the most part, it's the same players. So focus on the same players. There's no need to stress yourself out over the guy who's running top 20 every weekend. And if that top 20 guy ends up getting a win, hey, sometimes you win some, you lose some, you get lucky. So back to step 1, visualize yourself. Play out different scenarios in your head. I always play out scenarios where, because crit racing is dangerous, I don't know why this is one of the things I always think of, but avoiding crashes. Like, I literally think, wiggling my way through a crash or darting off to the left or right to avoid a bicycle that has hit the ground, because you can win on the ground. So one of the things you have to do is not crash. Unfortunately, those things happen. So I'm not saying that it won't happen. Sometimes it's inevitable. So that's one of the things I always think about. 2, I think about what I would do if I had a mechanical. You have to know the rules in crit racing and have to pay attention to when you're down to no more free laps. What happens if I catch a flat with 5.5 to go and I cross the line with 4 to go? You have to know the rules to that. What happens if I flat at a certain time and I can get in, and how much time do I have to get out of the pit? You got to know the rules to that. What happens if my handlebars slip or if my chain gets stuck? You have to know the rules, because you have to put yourself in the best position to win. So if you have a mechanical and you're making bad decisions because of that mechanical, maybe your anxiety goes up real fast. You have to know what your options are. For instance, a handlebar slip. Is that a legitimate mechanical? Does anyone know? Let's go over to the chat over here. All right, so I might take a time. Exactly. Thomas said, no, your handlebar slipping is not a mechanical. Your chain getting stuck, is that a mechanical? The answer is no. Popping a cable, is that a mechanical? Battery dying, is that a mechanical? These are not legitimate mechanicals. So the rules state that if there's something that you're in charge of, like your maintenance, making sure your chain don't break, making sure your handlebars are tight. I actually think a chain breaking is a mechanical, because you can't pedal anymore. But handlebar slip, stuck is not a mechanical. Popping a cable is not a mechanical. About 3 years ago, I was in the break in the Pro 1-2 race in Tosa Tough on stage 2, Brady Street. Really, really fun, hard race. Was in the break with, I think it was 4 or 5 of us, and I was with some heavy hitters. And at the time, Daniel Holloway was on top of his game, absolutely crushing the season. And I felt pretty good, though. I was in there. I wasn't, racing full time anymore. I was happy to be in the move. And it got to the point where we were getting down to the end. We've been off the front for about 45 minutes, and I broke a cable. So now I'm stuck in my 5311 going up that hill every lap, cresting the top. It only felt good when we were going down the hill, making that left 35, 40 miles an hour. But I didn't say anything because it wasn't a mechanical. So I had to start skipping pulls, and I started talking a little shit too. I remember telling Holloway, I forget who else was in the break. I said, man, they were telling me to pull through. I said, no, I'm not pulling through. You guys get paid to do this. I'm just an amateur now. And I was in the 5311, just kind of grinding myself up the hill. And I said, look, I feel good today. I'm in a 5311. You guys can't drop me. So psychologically, they broke. I was physically broken. I couldn't pedal anymore, but I was playing it off as much as I could. And long story short, the brake fell apart because no one wanted to take me to the line. No matter how much training I had, you don't want to see me come down to the end. I may not win, but my chances are pretty high because I knew I didn't have a mechanical. So I played, I had to go into my acting role. Needless to say, when I got in the field, the pace was so high towards the end of the race, I couldn't recover, just using a big gear. And I ended up getting nothing, at the end of the day. But so be it. So we got our visualization going on. 2, talking about visualization and bikes and whatnot, you got to figure out where you want to be towards the end of the race. So think about the brake. If you're a type of rider that likes to ride in the brake, you got to visualize yourself riding in the brake. You got to visualize yourself being with the strongest people in the group. What happens if you're in the group with strong people? You're feeling pretty good, but you got a guy like myself or Justin in there. What are you going to do? How are you going to play out the scenario in your head so when race day come, you've already seen it happen. You've already seen rider 3 attack with 2 to go and Justin holding on or Rasan holding on and rider number 5 goes across the top and now you're stuck in no man's. You got to think about these things because they happen. So one of the things I pride myself on is knowing what's going to happen before it happens. Literally, God blessed me with a lot of things, and this is one of them. For some reason, I know what's going to happen before it happened, and I made a living off of that. Seriously, I didn't just win crits because I was the fastest person. I won crits because I knew how to read the race, what other people were going to do before it happened. Is that something you can teach? I think so, but it takes time and it takes trial and error, but it's something you can definitely learn. Okay, so now you got the race scenario in your head. That's 3 steps that you have thought about now. As a sprinter, you have to put yourself in a position, right, to win the sprint. So in saying that, if there's 3 guys off the front with a 20-second gap, are you going to wait? Are you going to wait on someone else to try to close that gap? Or are you going to go early and just roll the dice? That's up to you. I can't tell you how to play that out. For me, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. 20 seconds all day long, I can close that. I'll hit 1,400 watts for a few seconds. And if I can hold 800 watts for a good 30 seconds, I'll close a 20-second gap. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. Now, if it's 30 or 45 seconds, probably not, especially if it's like 4 to go. With that said, you always have to remember that the power is in the peloton. I'm a big believer in drafting. Like my homie Nelson Vale say, sit the wheel. But I've never been afraid to put my nose in the wind. When I first became teammates with Sharon, I kept telling him that, Sharon, you're fast. You're not going to get dropped. You're strong. It's okay to do some work. It's okay to put your nose in the wind because you have to put yourself in a position to win. All right. So you got the visualization out of the way. You've got scenarios for bike maintenance, making sure your bike is taken care of. You got the scenario as a breakaway rider, as making sure you visualize yourself getting away from all hazardous things, crashes, mechanicals, all that stuff. Now you're in the bike race. Or let's go back. It's the day of. 21 years of racing, I still get a little anxiety. I won't even call it anxiety. It's more like I'm very I just get a little bit of butterflies, and the smaller the race, the bigger the butterflies. Sounds crazy, right? Because the smaller the race, meaning there's not a lot of hitters there, it could be you and one other hitter. Everyone else is not a hitter, but you can never count them out, right? So the reason I get bigger butterflies when the race is not on the level of like Dana Point, rest in peace, or like a Nationals or something like that. Because Nationals, everybody on their game, right? I got nothing to lose. I'm throwing it all in. Dana Point, I'm throwing it all in. But at a local race like CBR, I mean, yeah, you want to win. I'm not gonna discredit winning, but it's not the end of the world if you don't win. You know what I mean? So like the I'm sorry, it puts more pressure on me when it's a small race because you should win those smaller races, right? So now you have more pressure on you if you don't win. Nationals is a big stage. Like small, so if you don't win there, you give it your best shot, you lost to the best guy. On a smaller level, it's like if you're the like that's like Justin. I keep using Justin because he's just been killing it lately. It's like Justin hopping in the Cat 3 race and don't win. How embarrassing would that be, right? It's like it's Justin Williams. He should win. He's supposed to win. Even on the Pro 1-2 level, he should win. He's supposed to win. So that's I feel a little butterflies in my stomach when it comes to local racing. We got a lot of chatter over here. Let me just pick it up real quick. What's up, Nigel? Thomas, I'm your guy, man. Thomas said I need a cycling coach. Just go ahead and hit me up, Rasan at BahatiRacing.com. DJ Battle said, Thomas, you want one of you think you need one. As a Cat 5, your coaches are your faster friends and faster group rides. There is some truth to that. I would agree with that. I'm a big believer in group rides. One of the things I would say I do better than just giving you a plan, a coaching plan, which I do for several people. And it's great to see like their FTP at 250 when you meet them, and now it's at 275 or 75 when you meet them, and now it's at 320. That's like Cat 4s and older master racers. But one thing I would say that I think I do best versus writing a plan is this, what I'm doing right now, just because of the sheer experience. And there's not a lot of people out there, which is tactics, thinking ahead, just knowing what to do. I often get in conversations with riders locally that talk about, man, I was in this position and I didn't know what to do. It's like you have to know what to do. It's like if you're at work and you have something to do at work, like finish off a program or something like that, and you're like, I don't know what to do. You ask for help. But it seemed like in cycling, no one really asked for those tactic helps. They just mainly want to know, how do I get stronger? How do I get faster? And when I had the academy guys over last week, we started talking about testing and how strong certain guys are. And I surprised some of them by saying I was the worst tester when I was on the national team. You know, all those tests that I've done over the years, numbers suck. Numbers suck. But when it came to bike racing, why is it that I could beat some of these guys that had FTPs way higher than me, that had power output way higher than me? Because of this and because of this. So I think when you have a stand in the fight and you work on the intellect of the sport, it will help you, I think, 100 times more than being the strongest or the fastest. I can't even tell you how many races I've won, knowing that I wasn't the fastest or the strongest. I literally outsmarted my competition. Power meters are a tool. What budget power meter do you recommend? Honestly, the best power meter for your money is a Pioneer. I used to use a SRM. By far, they were the best and most superior power meter on the planet. I believe they were the first in making just fantastic power meters. A little pricey, but you knew that the numbers were going to be accurate. A lot of these power meters, they were just off. They're way off. You know, they're off by 8 to 12%. Maybe even more. But the Pioneer is it's clean. I like the way it looks on the bike. You can get the little cap cover in different colors so it matches your bike or keep it stealth. And it could be installed on your existing crank, so you can literally take your crank off. And I'm not sure if they do Ultegra and Durace, and you can send that crank in to Pioneer. They'll install it for you and they will ship it back. It's not something you can do on your own. And I think the price point is great. So check that out. You can do dual leg, right and left, which I use, or you can just do the right leg. Yep, DJ Battle said, look into the Pioneer. So Brian wants to know what track events help with crit racing. That's a very good question. So if you don't know, I actually got my start on the velodrome. For 4 years, that's all I did was race the track. I actually had no idea road racing existed. It sounds funny, but it's true. I had no idea that you can ride a road bike. I didn't even know what a road bike was. So that was back in the day when I just got started and all I knew was the velodrome. So it all depends on what events you're good at. If you're, what discipline. So if you're a sprinter like me, I like the track for a few things. One thing that I think people downplay is awareness. The skills that I have from crit racing, when you see some of the brothers like Corey and Justin and I do kind of like some people are offended by it and some people are like, oh my God, you got skills. A lot of that came from the track. I really don't owe it to anything else. On the velodrome, you're surrounded by 20, 25 people. Same gears for the most part. Same fixed gear, no brakes, no coasting, no water bottles. And you have to use the track and the people to maneuver, right? And I think it just awareness-wise, it keeps your brain moving at all times. You never become idle. It's easy to become idle in a road race. It's easy to become idle in a crit. You don't become idle racing on the tracks. So with that said, to answer your question, if you're a sprinter, I would definitely focus on the mass start events that are fast, like the scratch race. I would focus on the points race. That's just great interval training. I would also focus on, I used to call it the missing out. It's called something else now. It's called elimination. Elimination race is great, and it's changed over the years. When I was racing elimination, well, I'm going to stick to what I used to call it, or what they used to call it. When I was racing the missing out, you had a rider they called the devil, and the devil would sit in the back and just pick people off. And back in the day, I was actually really good at it. I could point out, and I learned this from Don Denigo, I could point out who I was going to put out on the next lap. So if I was the last guy and there was three riders in front of me, I would pick one on what position he was in, and I knew that I could maneuver myself and put him in a box or in a situation where he couldn't get out, and he would be out. But now things just changed. That's when we were racing like 94-inch gears. Now in these missing outs, I mean, probably the lowest gear is like a 102. So everything has turned pursuit, I would say, on the track, where if you were a pursuit racer, that's what you did. You were a pursuiter. Now the mass start guys, points race, elimination, scratch race, they're wearing semi-aero helmets, aero socks. Their position on the bike is very aero now. It's not more upright. Everything is trying to get low, so you can be aero, so you can go faster. So times have changed. Outside of that, if you wanted to focus on training on the track, definitely got to do one of my favorite workouts on the track is the ride at the top. And every 3 laps, 2 or 4, and do 110% effort to the finish line. So basically a full lap. And then you shoot right back up to the top of the track, and you stay up there for another 3 laps, and then you do it again. You try to get like 5 of those in one set, complete 3 sets. That's 15 efforts. And yeah, they hurt because when you're at the top of the track, at least our track, the track is steep. So you have to keep up a certain speed. So if you don't push, you're going to fall off the track. So that's a good workout for intervals and just recovering and putting out max efforts and recovering. Do I measure my training by miles or hours weekly when we're newer as I am? So he wants to know um, if he should train by miles or hours. I would always say hours. Ghetto bird, if you guys can hear it. The reason why, the body doesn't count miles. Only your computer does. Only your Wahoo, computer does. So you want to train for hours to condition your body, your mind to know what miles are. Like, for instance, on New Year's Day, I went out and rode 90 miles with a massive group out of Long Beach. I had no business out there. I just came off of an 11-day vacation with absolutely no bike, eating really bad, drinking every single day, just enjoying vacation with my family. And I went out there and I said, look, if I can complete this ride in about 3.5 hours, I'll make it, because I've only been training about 2.5 hours max prior to my vacation. So I knew I had a little bit of me I knew I had a little bit within me to do at least 3 hours, and I couldn't do any work because working would have just dipped into the deposits that I didn't have. It's like withdrawing money in the bank account that you don't have. So you see that big negative, and now the bank is charging you. That'd be my body charging me. So I hid the entire ride. Every now and then I got caught in the front and had to do like a quick chop, but it wasn't my usual self where I'm trying to break people's legs. And I tell you what, by mile maybe like 75, leading back to PCH, and some of the guys that train 20 to 28 hours a week were getting dropped. One, they were riding too hard early, right? You can't sustain it. This ride was the hardest New Year's Day ride that's been going on forever, right? It was the hardest ride I've ever done, in shape or not. The winds were crazy. People don't know how to ride in echelons. And I did everything within my power to just be the best rider I could be without taking a pull, because I knew if I did, I wouldn't make it. So anyway, I tell you that story to say my body was able to push through the pain, right? Because I knew I had at least 3 hours in me. I think I ended up riding like 3:45, and there were times where I was cramping and wanting to give up. But because I was smart earlier, in the first third of the ride, I was able to complete the ride with the group and be one of the last standing people. The ride started with like 600 people. By the time we do the extended version, it was down to about 150 people. By the time we got to the coast and on our way back to the finish, it was only down to about 20. And by the time the sprint opened up, it was literally 10 people. It was an absolute slugfest. And I didn't die. Like I was okay later that day, and I was okay the day after. So it's important to train your body for time. All right, I'm going to answer questions. I wanted to keep this about 30 minutes. We've been at it for about 28 minutes now. Let's see. I'm feeling that the new TCR Advanced disc, though I'm not sure about the new disc braking system. So Thomas, I think I answered the question from you already. And Ryan, I see you. I'll get back to you. I just got on my TCR disc. However, I did race and ride across America when I did RAM last year on a Giant Propel disc. So I did that ride, which was great on it, right? It was great because the weather was crappy here and there. I was confident on roads that I didn't know descending. Sometimes a little too confident, which is funny. Like, you can still slide out. I'm grabbing brake. I'm like going into the corner at 40 miles an hour in the dark in Pennsylvania, losing my follow car because I feel so confident in the braking, right? And one time I locked up and slid. I said, wait a second, you still can slide out. It's not like you're invincible. But it does boost your confidence because you can stop. I would say it takes a little getting, but I didn't really notice a huge difference. I've raced it in the crit, and in crit racing, you don't need brakes. So if you're not up for the extra weight, don't do the disc. But I would tell you this, disc brakes is like, it's like Wi-Fi, it's like the internet. It's just a thing now. It's normal. It's like There is a time where you don't want disc. Like, some of these guys race on the tour and these grand tours and these hilly races, they need the lightest bike possible within the UCI rules. And so maybe the disc option is not the best. But I would say for an all-around bike, you can't go wrong. And I have to tell you, I've been absolutely pleased with my TCR. I just got a note last night from the Academy team, which we sponsor, and they're on the Giant Advance non-disc mechanical. And one of the guys just like, it should be a crime how good this bike is. And he's ridden some really good bikes over the years. So I've heard nothing but good things about the bike from people who ride it, and I'm a testament of liking the disc brake Giant bikes. So Ryan wanted to know, what's a good gear for that track workout? It all depends on you. So we were talking about the at the top for 4 or 3 and then down for full sprint. I would do it in anywhere between a 92 and a 96, depending on your strength. So like if I were to get off the couch and go do it, I'll probably do like a 92. But if I'm in good shape and I feel good about riding at the top, in a good zone, I would probably do heavier, like a 96, because the idea, you want to push, get up to speed, hold it, go through the finish line, back up, and use that first lap as recovery, second lap as now you got to push a little bit, third lap. So, I mean, it may sound easy, but it's very difficult. It's challenging, and like I said, it's a good exercise. So anywhere between a 92 and a 96. What are your thoughts on Zwift racing? We know you can beat 99% of the Zwift racers in real life. So Doug, that's a funny question, man. I'm actually not good at Zwift racing. I've done maybe 15 races before, and if you don't know what Zwift is, go check it out, zwift.com. And you can actually race in Zwift. You race virtually. You put in your height, you put in your weight, your age, and you race people in real time. And it's not easy. It's like doing a time trial. You take off from the gun and you basically hold threshold for an hour. And I don't find that to be conducive. I find it to be conducive for my training, but I don't find it easy to win. And maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe my trainer's broke, because there's times where there's names I see, like you said, in real life, and I'm like, oh, well, I can be that guy. But in a virtual world, I'm getting my ass kicked left and right. And part of it is there's really tactics. It's about how strong you are. And, I'm not that strong. I guess you could say I'm more of a tactician, and there's not a lot of tactics in Zwift. There is some drafting. There is some tactics. Don't get me wrong. There is some, but it's not like racing in real life. We're going to be out of here. I saw a Crit Wits video get dropped on the ride New Year's. I really enjoy doing this. All right, what's up, Brian? I don't see any more questions. Well, if that's it, how do you feel about training on Zwift versus the road? Michael Thompson, I actually like training on Zwift a lot. Believe it or not, I trained on Zwift to do Race Across America, which sounds absolutely crazy because you're talking about racing 3,000 miles over 6 days, and all I did was do double days on Zwift, literally riding 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour when I got home. But what I did was race. I either raced or did a hill climb. And that's just me personally. Everyone's different. You got to remember, I have 21 years of riding in my legs. So I can adapt to things a little quicker. I can adapt to things quicker than normal people that just got on the bike, even, right? So I do have that as an advantage, but I can't always rely on that. I still have to train, right? I still got to get on the bike. I still got to put in the time, and the results will speak for themselves. So I would highly recommend that people consider getting on Zwift. It'll be the best $15 you spend a month. I'm telling you, it's just on the days where you're frustrated, you don't have time to ride, or the weather sucks, it's too hot at home, if you know what I mean. Just get on the bike, let out that energy, and you can do it right in the comforts of your home. All you need is internet and a smart trainer, right? And you're in the game. So check that out, Zwift.com. Don't forget the training coach's info again. Thanks. Yeah, it's just hit me up, Rasan at BahatiRacing.com. What's a good workout for the stationary bike? This is my last one, all right, folks? Brian Smith want to know, what's a good workout for the stationary bike? Haven't made the decision to buy a smart trainer. Being that I work for Zwift, I've had an opportunity to ride a bunch of different trainers. And there's a lot out there. There's a lot of options. I think it comes down to a couple things. One, your budget. Two, aesthetics. And three, how do you want to feel on that trainer? They don't all feel the same. And that's just what it is. Not to say that they're bad. They just saying flywheels are different. Some of them have vibration. Some of them move. Some of them are stationary, no move at all. Is a lot of options. I personally go with the Kicker, the Wahoo Kicker. I also use their bike computer and their heart rate tracker. I like their product. Part of the reason I got the Element is because I just wanted something different. I had a Garmin forever, not to say the Garmin is bad. I just wanted to look a different computer. I'm gonna give it a try and end up falling in love with it. So I think they make really good products. So if you're interested in a Wahoo product, anything from Wahoo, just let me know. I can connect you with some people that'll hook you up and make sure that you're taken care of. So that will do it for me. Again, this is Fear the Fro podcast on a Friday, talking about racing and coaching. If you have any questions about racing and coaching, just hit me up. I'm on all platforms at Bahati Racing. I usually get back to everyone. And we'll go from there, man. So enjoy. This has been another edition of Fear the Fro podcast, and we are out. You're welcome, DJ. You're welcome, Daniel. You're welcome, Michael. Thomas. Who else? A-Man. And those who didn't comment, that's low-key watching, I see you. Stefan. DJ Battle. Nigel. Doug. Doug, you said you had a lot of questions, but you didn't ask one. Patrick Barrett asked the first question, is NPR a race? Absolutely not. All right, folks. Peace out.